Buddy, welcome everybody. We're going to share the screen. This is a summary chapter of everything that we've learned till now. So all the chapters beforehand, all 52 chapters beforehand till now, this is a summary chapter. So it's really worth going through it in detail. And I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to look where how I can share the screen. Share screen. Okay, so how do I share the screen? Oh, finally. Okay. And share. So here we are. Okay. V'achar kol hanal. After everything above, now we can understand Lamaskil to a person who uses their insight and thinking. Klolos kol hisbeinunos. All of the practice of hisbeinunos, reflection, which is a fundamental practice in Judaism. It says in the Haftarah before Tisha B'Av, "Va'ami lo hisbeinen." God was complaining that my people were not practicing reflection. So, but here it is. Here it is. We can understand the bigger picture in all of reflection. Merotan apashut, from the rotan apashut ha'atzmi, from the simple, essential want, that in the essence of the unlimited light, mamish, in actual fact, machmas bechinas chafetz chesed ha'atzmi, because of the desire, it's basically a want and a pleasure at the same time. Because of the chafetz chesed, the desire to spread kindness, ha'atzmi in the essence, she'ala b'retzenu, that it went up in God's want, ha'pashut in his simple want. In other words, it's not no details yet. Kanal ba'is ayud, like we learned in chapter 10. Chapter 10 really started to go into detail. So from that original want, ad harotan ha'yoseh achrin, till the last want, shura rotan le'isavos olam asiyah, the lowest want is the want to make into actuality the world of action, which we live in, b'chlal in general, of a prat and in the parts, shenikra keser, this want to create our world. Well, this want to create our world, alidei, it's called the crown, vatikim, in the higher days, like Attic, the asiya of the world of action, Fulmashakosov, and this is the meaning of the statement that the verse that we've been quoting again and again. Kol asher chafetz Hashem asa. Everything that God desired, he actually implemented. What he desires in his essence, he actually implements. The vadei kamosha Allah, b'retzenu apashut. The way it went. 1 second. Just like it went up in his want, lias chafetz, that there should be a desire, v'rotzen, and a want, lahatzel, to express himself, lahatzel, basically to express his personality. Allah chafetz v'rotzen zeh livrei. So too it went up, this desire and this want, to livrei, to create. V'chafetz v'rotzen liyatzer, and a want to form, v'chafetz v'rotzen lases, and a want to lases hakel, to get everything done. Hayakolul be'etzem ritzoneh hapashut. So all these wants, the wants to express himself in a personality, that's lahatzel, and a want to create, like to think, and the want to form and to communicate, and the want to do, all of those wants, everything was included in his essential want, hapashut, in his simple want, Shabbat Musa, in his essence. At the beginning, Al Derech Mashal, for example, in other words, every single want that we see in this world, every last detail he actually wants in his essence. For example, Adam she'ala b'retzonei ha'atzma liyes rotzen le'eze inyan. For example, a person that goes up in his essential want, that he wants something, davar ma, he wants something. Now, like they say, men, what's the difference between men and boys? It's just the size of their toys. So we're just a metaphor for divinity. So when a person wants something, even though when he starts thinking how to implement, it comes and gets divided into a bunch of different wants, from one level to another level, until the last one, which that is the want for the end of action. Everything went up in his essential want, bli chiluk madregas klal, without any different levels. In other words, it doesn't matter if I want this or I want that. It's me. I want it. And I'm not going to give any more value or credence to any want above another want. Like we explained in the 7th chapter, there are actually no different levels between the crowns, the abiyah of the 4 worlds, the world to express the personality, atzilus, bria, to have conscious thought, Yitzira, to form and shape that thought, asiya, and to actually put it into picture, to get it done, to do it. Now, when you implement, it goes in an order. You first, it's like a hishtalshlus, it's like a chain order of cause and derivative. The expression of the higher level becomes the drive for the lower level. In other words, like in a military, you have the higher headquarters and then you have the people that are actually getting it done. So the expression, the orders from the higher headquarters now becomes the driving the commander's intent for the lower level. So that's when you're implementing. But when it comes to the actual person, there's no difference between this want and that want. Kach legabe atzvos retainer. When we're going to compare to the God's essential desire, apashir, which is simple, shebechinas atzvos erein, which is in the essence of God's unlimited light, ein chiluke madreges, there are no different levels, bein chafetz v'ratzon lahatzel, whether it's the desire to express a personality, bein chafetz v'ratzon lases, or whether it's desire to get something done. In other words, God doesn't desire the higher worlds more than the lower worlds. He doesn't desire the world of his personality more than this physical world. You can see it because if he would have been satisfied with creating with the formation of his personality, then he wouldn't have done any more. The fact that he continued doing till this world means that really his want is not fulfilled till this world is done. So the main want is at the end of a project. So God's main want is expressed in this world. And this is the meaning of what we say in prayers. Ani Rishain, I am the first. Vani Yachrein, and I am the last. What does it mean? Ani Rishain, I am the first. Was in the want, in the expression of the unlimited, infinite, which is the source of the want to lahatzel, to express a personality. Va'ani achrein, and I am the last. What is I am the last? Berotzen achrein, in the last want. What's the last one? Shema Malchus, that's it. Expression of action, that from the 10 spheres of Asiya, we're going to actually, bring about the creation of the world, Hashafel, this lowly world which we live in, Hayesa Achron, which is the last world. We are this lowly last world. What is the definition of this world? Well, this world starts with Afefanim, the angels that are that go around like the bicycle, like onion peels, like the bicycles. I found him like the Hebrew word of modern Hebrew word of naim, which is bicycles. Vamazalis, and then the star constellations. In other words, the constellations. Let's say there's this super powerful magnetic nuclear sea, and the mazalis and the stars tap into this nuclear energy and they shoot it out in straight lines like a flashlight. Shema Shorshe Hisavos Haruchnius, and these Ifanim and the Mazalis, Shema Shorshe Hisavos, they are the source of the creation of the Ruchnius, of the spirituality, means the laws. Ruchnius means the stuff that you don't see. Spirituality means the stuff that you don't see. So laws. Hadalit, you said it. So when we study the laws of physics, we are studying spirituality, a lower level of spirituality, but it's the laws of the behavior of the four elements. What are the four elements? The Eishrach Maimafar, fire, water, no, Eishrach, fire, wind, water, and earth. And you could say that it's Eish is photons, Ruach, electrons, protons and neutrons will be the Maim and Afar. You could also say the strong and weak nuclear force, electromagnetic and gravitational push. But basically it means certain behaviors, like fire's behaviors to go up. We don't mean actual fire, we mean the behavior of actually drying up, going dry and up, and wind would go up. What would be wind? So water is sticky and goes down. Afra is dry and goes down. So ruach is basically wet liquid. No, sorry, it's hot liquid. So it's wet. So fire is dry, plasma. So these behaviors, when you mix them up, you create varuchnis the demen samechai. And so that's the spirituality, which means the laws of inanimate, tameach, things that grow, v'chai, and animals that move, hagashmim, which are physical. From the Shekosel b'Seif ha'etz chaim, like it's explained at the end of the Sefer Etz Chaim. The Sefer Etz Chaim mirrors what we've been learning in Shara Yichud, in the fact that it starts with the top of Seder Shtalshalos and goes all the way to the bottom in more details. I find that it's really hard to understand, because every time that when I tried to read it, and then I saw the Alter Rebbe Balatanya, he explains the Etz Chaim, and I realized that I didn't understand it the first time. So one thing I understand about Etz Chaim, that I don't understand it. But there's a lot of details over there about the creation of the world. So the Afanim, the Mazalos take energy from the Afanim, and then they basically like these fingers shaping a clay, and they basically cause these four types of behaviors. These four types of behaviors of fire, wind, air, and earth. And when those are mixed up, they actually allow for the behaviors of inanimate trees, plants, and animals. And everything is basically covered, or this whole situation is covered by the words Kol Asher Chafetz Hashem Ba'atzmos. Whatever Hashem desired in his essence, also that's what he did, which he did. And what the idea of all these things is that we take all the objects and lift them up to a higher level. So we take a diamond, for example, inanimate object, let's say a sefer who writes a mezuzah, say. Here's a mezuzah. So the ink is made from carbon, which is inanimate, or a mixture between iron and ferrous sulfate. No, tannic acid, sorry. Ferrous sulfate is iron, and tannic acid, which is like the taste you feel in dry wine or in tea without sugar. And it makes a chemical reaction, becomes black. There's two ways to get black in nature. One is carbon, the other one is a mixture between iron and tannic acid. And he makes the ink. And then we take, we mix a bit of gum Arabic to give it a little so it doesn't crack. And so we're using tree elements. And also when we make the parchment we take a cow. We take a cow and we put it into lime, and then afatzim. Afatzim would be acid from trees, and it makes it from skin. It makes it into this nice parchment which you can write on. We're also using a feather, which is from a bird. So we're using all the types of different, and you have the human who's actually writing it. So we're using daimon, inanimate. Then we have the tree aspect, and the chai, the animal, the cow, and the bird, the turkey or goose feather, and together with the human, and we making something holy out of it, which then becomes a vessel for the divine presence to sit in this when it's written correctly, and it gives us protection. That's what's written in the Bible. So that's our job, to put everything together, and everything in the world, we should be using it to elevate it to a high level. So we said that this creation of the world is kol asher chavetz Hashem ba'atzmo asa. Whatever God decided in his essence, he actually implemented. Shekalo kol ha'ishtashlos. This includes the entire chain order of creation, the kav from the ruler. Remember, first thing God needs to create in creation is the ability to measure out energy. So from the ruler, at Sefer Olam Asiyah, till the end of this world of action, the Hainu, meaning to say, Shekalam Yachad, the whole implementation of this plan is together. Shinikra Kol B'chinas Asiyah. It's all considered doing levad. For God, this is just like getting something done. The whole process, in compared to the essence, the source of God creating his divine personality, no, not creating, he didn't create, he expressing his divine personality, and the God and the source of creating the actual world, where we have this mixture and of energies in order to create different forms of matter. This is what means whatever he desired, asa he made b'shamayim, in the heavens. And heavens is a code word for sevev haklali, means all the different possibilities. Sevev means surround, like a watch. You have all the different, now it's only a certain time, and the watch is all the various possibilities. The Tehira Elah, from the higher purity. In the higher purity, there's only oneness. It's like higher purity, like pure gold. When you add a little bit of a different metal into gold, it immediately changes color. So it's totally pure gold, only purely divinity, potential for anything with Tehira Tata. And then there is the Tehira Tata, the lower purity, where now it's possible in this domain to create the world, or to start the process of creation of the world. So whatever God decided in Bashamayim, in the heaven, which includes the higher purity, lower purity, Va'aretz, and whatever he desired in the land. What's the land? The land is a code for anything where the energies need to be personally measured. For example, you have the energy that allows me to have mental cognition, and you have the energy which allows me to experience emotion, and you have the energy that allows me to move. So these are different types of energies, And that's what when we say the Aretz, the land, that's what it refers to. So whatever God desired in his essence, that's what he did in the heavens and the land. He made all different forms of energies, and to compared to the essence of God, it's all the same thing. In other words, divine worlds are not higher in comparison, in contrast to his desire. They're not higher than this world. It's all him. Yadua, it's known, the Ekev da Adam Kadmon, the heel of the original man. In other words, after God established a ruler, which he's going to measure out energy at the beginning of the process of creation, he created the first character, which is the original Adam. And in the soul of Adam were all of our souls, all of humanity's. Shemistayim v'seif asiyah. So the heel of Adam is completed in the end of action. So basically, we live in the place which is called the heel of Adam. Varesha, however, the head of Adam, the machshava klalis, the head of Adam was in the general thought, in the beginning of the ruler. Adam was a very deep person, and his understanding of the creation of the world was very deep, and his mind, wherever he says, wherever you think about, that's where you are. So his mind was analyzing the beginning, like, why did God create all of this? His mind was on the level of the beginning of the ruler. He was thinking about what's higher than me. Why did God create me? What's the mission? What's the story? They said on Adam Rishon, on the first Adam, first man, before Chet is the sin, but really Chet is also a lacking. Chita minaderach means he was off mark. So Adam went off the mark. So before he went off the mark, his feet was in this world. In other words, he had 2 feet on the ground. He understood the physical world. It was very practical. He had 2 feet on the ground. However, his head was in Bria, in God's thoughts. He was in the world of, he was thinking about God's thoughts. Shenikra Adam de Bria. And that's why Adam is called the man of Bria, the man of creation, because that's where he spent his time. Yeshmayin, about how creation comes, something concrete comes from energy, from the abstract. Now we're going to tell you something very significant, and it's in the prayers in the Sabbath. The prayers of Sabbath, we say a beautiful prayer, Nishmas Kol Chai, the soul of all living things. And it's a very beautiful prayer. Look it up in the prayer book. You can actually search it, Google it. And it says over there, V'hainu, and this means V'chol keimal fanecha ishtachve. This is the deep meaning behind all kaima, means standing up straight. L'fanecha, in front of you, mishtachve, will bow down. And it's referring to the whole order of creation. Like Adam, his head was in the beginning of creation, his feet were firmly in this world. And so Adam, his entire gigantic, size will bow down to you. In other words, all of creation will recognize this wonderful thing that happened. The entire system of creation from beginning till this world of action will bow down to you, and they're all equal. That's what it means when you bow down. Bow down and saying, my feet and my head compared to you are all the same. Now we're going to say something extremely fundamental. And I think we really need to emphasize this and say this twice. And this is Ikar Mechaven, the main intent, B'chol Isbeinus, in all of reflection, B'chol Pratu Prat, when we go into every single part, which is important, Sheb'chol Eshtalshalos, in all the chain order of creation, the kav from the ruler, from when God established the ruler at the beginning of the creation, the ruler actually, the idea of the ruler started from before the first contraction, something kav from before the contraction, because we learned that the ruler is after the contraction, but really the source of the ruler was before the contraction, until the end of action, where we live in this world. Rachlias, in this dimension, Rachlias nichlal kol ba'achdas apshuta. The whole goal is to bring everything to the whole of this undivided oneness, connect it all up. Shubichinas atzmus erensev, which this is the essence of the unlimited light. So we are in the essence, and the essence expresses itself, and that's the essence of the unlimited light. Ad sheyikba b'nefesh, and this is the practice of reflection. This is what we're doing until it becomes installed in the soul. So it's not enough that computers, it's not for AI. It has to be installed in our soul. Gam b'seida hashgacha. We have to install in our soul even the order of the way God is intimately involved. Hashgacha means intimately overseeing. Helikis, the divine oversight. So we should understand the order of the divine oversight. Hapratis, every detail, every part, ad aprata yisachar, until the last part. So we should, part of reflection is about understanding the order of divine involvement until the last part, Shu Gamba Elam Galgalim, which that is also in the world of Galgalim are like the electromagnetic nuclear sea that shape in the like round peels of an onion peel, like a balls, that the way these balls travel and move, Vamazalis, and the stars which are inside them, the constellations and the stars that are inside them, Shehem, that they are, we have to connect them to the Kabbalistic plan. We have to understand, we have to be able to connect everything to the sphere, to what sphere is this? Ad Shehem Rak Mites Kelim, because this entire when we look in the sky, these constellations and these systems of spheres, they are vessels. Shemrak Mites Kelim, they are the 9 vessels, Hachitzenim, which are external vessels. The Malchus Asiya, of the expression of the world of action. Now, last week we said that the real internal vessels are like the mitzvahs. They are the 10 holy spheres of the world of Asiya. And then we said that the in middle vessels, because in every vessel there are 3 parts. There are the internal vessels, and there are middle vessels, and there are external vessels. So just like we have a head, which is a vessel for our intellect, and we have a respiratory system, which is a vessel for our feelings, and we have it's basically a platform for our feelings, and we have our digestive and circulatory blood system, which is a vessel for our action, our locomotive power, our power to move. So they are three vessels in everything. And so when we see the constellations move across the sky every night, the stars move across the sky, the moon moves, the sun moves, what we are seeing is the external aspect. There are three aspects. There's three vessels, but this is we're seeing the external vessel of the expression of Asiya, of the world of Asiya. So actually, it's a seeable part of the order of creation. Now, the reason why that's such a valuable thing is because our animal soul understands what it sees. You know, our spiritual soul, when it learns about divinity, it gets excited. But our animal soul only understands what it sees. So if there's an aspect of the Seder Shtashlis which can be seen, then that's something that we could show the animal soul, and you see, here's the process. Here's the seeable part of the process, and it's really going to relate to that, and it's going to make an impact that the animal soul will be willing to let go and allow change to happen and improvement. And we said that when you're doing expression, that you hear me speaking around, that's expression. But if I would like throw a stone and you wouldn't see me as being the one that threw the stone, then that would be an expression of the expression, because you would have to do investigation to find out who the originator of this throwing of the stone is. So the fact that things move across the sky and that really powers the world, and it looks like as if you don't see the hand that's moving them, that's called expression of expression from the world of Asiya. And what you're seeing is the 9 external vessels. And the way these external vessels move and function and have impact on the world, shehu rak al pi ritzona. So everything that they do is al pi ritzona, according to the want, hapashut, that his simple want, sheba atzmos, in the essence of God, or in the unlimited, infinite light, mamish, in actuality. So people like learn, about the effect of the stars, and we're told that they don't get it accurate, perfectly accurate. So according to the Torah, we don't take advice from these people, but it doesn't mean that there isn't an effect. It's just that it's according to the desire and the essence of God. That's how it functions. Just like we say, God organizes the stars in their guards. In other words, there's a mathematical calculation on how they're going to move. Barakia in the sky, according to the way he wants. Now, Dafka specifically, and we say this in the nighttime prayer. Nighttime prayer, stars come out. Hopefully, maybe in the city there's not too many stars, but go upstate New York, there's stars, or you can see the stars. Sometimes you can see the stars over here, but they're just not so strong. But God organizes, as soon as it becomes dark. So we pray, and in the beginning of those prayers, we say God organizes the stars according to his want. In other words, the movement of the stars can be calculated mathematically, but the effect is changes according to what God wants. The way we pray, we ask for divine compassion, rachamim. God reflects and he changes the effect of the stars. The Hainu Karatena Passion, and this is like his simple desire, Sheba Atzmos Mamish, in the essence of God, Mitam Hanal, because of what we've explained before, that everything in this world happens. His last want is the same as his first want. And what does it mean, B'mishmer Sechem? Pirush B'mishmer Sechem. What does it mean in their guardings? So basically, the stars are servants, and they moved, and they have a certain guard, like king gods, like they're like the printer piece that shoots ink onto the paper. so that they, wherever they move, that's what they're told to do. Hainu gam bebechinas heichalas tiklutas nega de asiya. B'mishmeret sechem means the chambers of the middle peel of the world of asiya. Now, a peel basically means is a peel covers up on what's inside it and actually protects the fruit inside it. So what we're seeing in the world is basically a peel over divinity. And klipas nega means it's a peel, but it is a peel that could be used either a way. It could be used for a good way, to be elevated to divinity, or it could be degraded. So it's our choice, and it takes effort on our part to make sure that the klipas nega, this middle energy, anything that comes from is powered by the middle energy, is actually going to be elevated for holiness, like we explained before with regards to the mezuzah. We're using all these resources in order to elevate them to holiness. Shamazalas kvuyim berakia, because the constellations, the groups of stars, which is like basically like printer heads, kvuyim berakia, are basically installed in the sky. The hainu bebechinas nega da asiya. They're actually installed in the middle energy aspect of asiya. Ki eses spheres da asiya, because the 10 spheres, the holy 10 building blocks of asiya, and they're not considered part of the creation, but they create the creation. Bebechinas ervekli, and they have in the creation, they have, there's light, v'keli, there's vessels, v'cholis, and there are chambers, and that's basically the context. So basically, so like the stars or the planets are like the Rambam writes that they have actually an intellect. They're actually thinking. They're actually computing, and their computing power is better than that of our intellectual mind. Yes, the sun thinks, and the power of the sun's comprehension is better than our intellectual mind, but not better than our divine soul. But when I'm speaking now, I'm using my intellectual mind, and the sun understands reality better than I do. And the same with the other planets. So they have souls. They have a program. That would be like the light. And Kli means the physical aspect of the planet. Ve'echales is the chambers, which basically means the space, the outer space, where they basically limits their movement to that space. So the galgal that they're in is their heichal, is like their chamber, which establishes the context of what they do. So we want to know these 9 vessels, and I'm going to just skip to a different screen. Yeah, 1 second. Rambam, Foundations of the Torah, chapter 3. Right at the beginning. Chapter 3, the four chapters of the Rambam basically tell us how the world works. So these 9 spheres, which are basically vessels for the 9 spheres, and they're going to be different aspects of the spheres. So there's the light, which is the program or the soul, and then there's the physical star, which is going to be a vessel for that sphere or a specific angel, and then there's going to be the entire galgal, which that's going to be the chamber, which is the context of all the possibilities that this star angel / angel is going to do. So it turns out that we can see angels. Yeah, we can see angels. When you look up in the sky, you see the sun, you're looking at an angel that actually thinks and praises God and sings to God. Actually, in the early 2000s, there was an article that I saw that the scientists discovered that the explosions that happen on the face of the sun are like nuclear explosions, hundreds of the power of hundreds of nuclear bombs, and they vibrate, and they're basically like a string that explodes up and then goes back down on the other side. So it becomes like a U-shaped, upside down U shape, and it then vibrates similar to a guitar string. So it would theoretically make a sound, probably beyond our ability to hear. But that's a mechanical way of understanding how the sun is actually singing and praising God, and through that praise, it's actually getting its energy. And so the 9 spheres basically correspond to the 9 spheres. So the closest here, the closest sphere is that of the moon. So that would be the first vessel. The second sphere, which is a sphere which is called Kaichav, and you guys are probably familiar. We're going to look, you see, into translation, this means the planet or star, and that's Mercury. So Mercury is number 2. The third sphere, so the third sphere is called Noiga. Noiga is Venus. You know, if a person takes a private star loop, you have some videos of it on YouTube, a private video of the people recorded themselves. I believe that the Noiga means to shine. It's very interesting. It's very interesting how Noiga look. It looks like this shining thing in the sky. And so the next one, the fourth sphere, is the sun. The sun is an angel. It's in the fourth sphere. The fifth one is called Ma'adim. Ma'adim is Mars, red energy. The sixth sphere is Tzedek. Tzedek is justice. It's a planet of Jupiter. Has those rings around it. The seventh one is Shabtai, which is Saturn. The sixth sphere contains Tzedek, which is Jupiter. And the seventh sphere contains Shabtai. Shabtai means like Sabbath, sabbatical, the seventh one, Saturn. Okay, very easy to remember. It's the seventh one. Because it's the seventh one, Saturn. It's an angel also. And it has its Heichal, it has its Heichal. The eighth one is all the stars which are seen in the sky are in this gigantic onion peel, like sea of electromagnetic energy that holds them. And then the ninth sphere is what revolves every day from east to west. I think I said this before. I was on a bus with some people when the Israelis brought a satellite to the moon. And I said, isn't it interesting that we never saw the dark side of the moon? So the moon moves around, it moves like this, it moves like this, you see? It moves like this. It doesn't show its back to us. So it's not spinning on itself. It's a ball in the sky, it's not spinning on itself. And also, if you take, you know, the Jupiter, I think Jupiter, yeah, Jupiter. It has this freckle, and so what they call a storm, right? That doesn't move. We don't. People have private videos of Saturn, and Saturn's not turning around. It's going like this. We only see one face. Doesn't spin on itself. So these are balls in the sky. Why are we these are big balls in the sky. Why are the moon, which is a small ball, and the Jupiter is a big ball, and they don't spin on their own axis? Why would we think that we are a ball and why we're any different? So according to Torah, and according to the math of when you do the Rambam's calendar, it's the ninth Galgal which spins everything every night. It's basically this gigantic sea, electromagnetic sea, which spins everything. Now, according to the Rebbe I believe the Rebbe pointed out that according to Einstein, in the theory of relativity, if you don't know if anything's constant, you don't know what's spinning around what. And therefore, we are going to learn the way it's explained in the Torah. The way it's explained in the Torah is that just like the moon doesn't spin and the Jupiter doesn't spin, so the Earth is also doesn't spin, but the entire sky spins. Now, practically, it's all the same thing because we have no constant. But the way we're going to understand it, according to the Torah, that the entire sky spins, and its spin is basically a praise. Where does he get this unlimited energy from to do this clockwork? You always need an input of energy from somewhere. Where does it have the input of energy to do this clockwork movement? Every day, 24 hours, does a full spin. Now, this entire system is totally nullified. Hayesh, the concrete aspect of this line is totally nullified to the abstract energy, betachlis, completely. Kiyadua, like it's known. Now, there's different contexts, there's different chambers. So in the Heichal HaKadosh Kadashim Dasi, and the holy chamber of the Holy of Holies of Asiya, which is, I believe it's Kesach Chochmah Bina, the first three spheres of the world of Asiya. That's the Holy of Holies. Sham Yichud Zun, the Asiya, over there, there's a unification of the male and female aspect of Asiya, of the world of Asiya, which actually expresses itself in our physical world, just like in the temple below. It has a place. Nowadays, it's underneath the temple, somewhere directly corresponding where the Holy of Holies was, above. So over there's a revelation of the unification of the masculine and feminine. You know what happens when there's a revelation of the masculine and feminine? So something higher than both of them gets revealed, the essence of God. And the Shamas and Malachim Dasiya, and so the souls, people, Malachim, angels, which is the external vessels, like we said, the stars and the planets are part of the Malachim, part of the angels. The Asiya of the world of Asiya, they are actually totally nullified. Like it's written, the hosts of the heaven bow down to you through their movement of every day. Express it by that circular movement. For example, the angels which are like more deeper than the Galgalim, we mention them in the prayer. It's very important to mention them in the prayer because it has an impact on our positive impact on our animal soul. We tell the animal soul, why don't you harmonize with the source of your soul, with the source of your program. The Afanim v'chayas, and the angels, which are like the chayas from Yetzirah, the energy, the Asiya of the world of Asiya. So we have Afanim and chayas. So in general, we say Afanim are from the world of Asiya and chayas of the world of Yetzirah, and Srafim are for the intellectual angels, and they are burnt up with their love, and they're for the world of Bria. But you also have in each world a mirror of all of those aspects. You even have Atzilus in this physical world. So the Fanim and Chayes Vasiya Chayes are responsible for the presentation of everything. So the Afanim will move, will help, will be the energy to mix everything up of matter and give it a behavior. The Chayes are responsible to actually give them their presentation, that, you know, fire is red or light color, etc., etc. V'gam chaymer v'kli afanim. Something interesting. You see, the afanim are not just spiritual things. He says v'chaymer, they have matter, the kli, in a vessel, ha'afanim, which hold the afanim. That's what I was saying, that the galgalim are really a vessel for the afanim. V'chinas bittul. So even the betachlis, so they are totally nullified to the divine energy which is above them. Kumuvan, like it's understood by Merkavas Yecheskel, in the chariot of Yecheskel. Merkava is like an Israeli tank, right? So it's a chariot. And the idea of a chariot is that it's nullified to the driver. And Yecheskel, the prophet Yecheskel, saw this understanding of reality. And what he saw is the highest veifanim, so the highest veifanim of the world of Yetzirah, of the world of Yetzirah, and how it's totally nullified to the writer, God. And so too, in our difficult times, in the vessel, the susim shecherim, of the black horses, vadumim, and red horses that are mentioned by the prophet Zechariah, Bisman HaGalus, in the time of Galus, we are in this time. So the Beis HaMikdash hasn't been built yet in Yerushalayim. So what we see is a representation of black and red horses. Shamalchus Melubeshes Bain Sarim. What happens is the God's expression is now being enclosed in the 70 Sarim genies. Sar is like the word sir. So they're basically 70 angels which are in charge of the 70 nations. All of the nations of the world are divided into 70, and each one of them has an angel. In fact, there's also mini angels. So the Ein Sar, that he has mini angels. Like in America, you have like 50 of them. And when you like go over the border to Canada, you feel like the weather changes. It's like a different energy. Even when you go from New York to New Jersey, like there's like less snow over here, and you suddenly go into New Jersey and there's no more snow in the winter. And it's like a different energy. It's a different Sar. Sometimes the food will taste different as you go into a different the area of another Sar. And really, so the Malchus, God's expression, is being clothed through these angels, the Nega. And these are angels, these angels have a energy which could be used for good or for bad. So God gives us his own, because God can choose what he wants, so he gives us his ability to choose. So we can choose how we want to use this Nega energy for good or for bad. The Asiya, from the world of action. So even the governors, basically the governor of a state, is a vessel for the angel. And he's totally nullified to the angel. Kasus like a horse to a rider. So God's expression is riding the governor of the state or the president. Hashem. Now he gives us freedom of choice, that we can choose how the angel should be. We can pray and take action. that we choose how we, the people, choose how by asking for divine compassion and making steps to show what we want, it makes an impact of how that governor is going to be. Kamehini Hashem Rechev al Av Kal. Now there's a verse that says God's riding on a light cloud. So the cloud does the bidding of God. So even when people put like fake clouds in the sky for whatever reason, who knows, it's because of that angel of that area allowed that to happen, and that's still nullified to God. So God's running the whole show. God's riding the clouds. Like clouds are to ride on. They're a chariot to God. You have to realize that all these angels, they cannot take pride. It's like an axe taking pride that I cut down the tree, but it's really the person who uses them to cut down the tree. That's the person who takes responsibility from cutting down the tree. So how can the axe take pride that it provided firewood to be warm in the winter? That's absurd. So the angels cannot take pride in this. Now, even though there are many levels in this chain order of events, like we said, it's not just 70 presidents or 70 or kings, right? Then there's mini kings and there's governors, and it goes down, level until there are those that receive the energy from the divinity through masachim, a lot of curtains. From the end, from the back, delakim, of the word Elokim, because everything gets its energy, everything's God's name. So it gets its energy. God's name is 5 letters. Elokim means the power of powers. And it's 5 letters, and 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 is, what is that? This is the various the primary possibilities was 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, which is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 is 120. Then divide that by 5 is 24. So in other words, every letter is now responsible for 24 possibilities. Times 2 is 48. So 48 possibilities of energy from the last 2 letters, Yud Mem. Now the last 2 letters, so the main energy of God is Elik, Aleph, Lamed. This it would be a Hey, but it's not a Hey because we don't want to say God's name unless we're praying, right? We don't want to say. So Aleph, Lamed, and Hey is the main energy, and then the Yud Mem means more than one. More than one means not there's, not that there's more than one, like God forbid that it means more than one power comes out. He's the power of all powers. So in these last 2, which is more than one, which is there's a possibility of making confusion over here. They are 40. So basically 48. Mem has 48 tzirufim, different possibilities. Hachrenim, the last 48 possibilities of the energy. Shnikra admas bnei Cham. This is the country of the children of Cham. Noah had 3 sons. One of them was Cham. Cham means hot. It's hot over there. It's like the south, generally. So what happens is there can be a betachlis hahester. Seems like there's a total hester, means storing away, total covering up. But tzimtzum and tzimtzum means like that God's essence is like he's withholding back. It's a total focus. Becoming name Masachim, because there's many different types of Masachim, masks, Bavzalas and separations. Ad shenikra levush sak, until what happens, the energy comes down and is called in the Kabbalah world, or in levush sak, clothes of sack. And sack means leather. Leather meaning that no light goes through. Leather, sack and leather. God says, I'm going to make the heavens. Heaven really is like a revelation. You look up, a person gets fear of heaven. And when the skies look like they're like covered up, what's kadres? Kaderis, like pots and pans? I need to look that up. (28). It's Yeshaya, Nun Gimel. Yeshaya, Nun Gimel. So let's go. Texts, Tanakh. I'm looking for, where's Yeshaya? Here, Isaiah, Nun 3. I clothe the skies in blackness and make their raiment sackcloth. Let's check some commentary. Rashi. The hosts of the heavens, the princes of the heavens, nations, when I come and mete out retribution upon the nations. That's if they're not behaving. Let's go back. So blackness, kadres is blackness. V'sak asim ksusam, and their clothes will be sack, meaning the light doesn't go through. Gidur, like it's none. Kamosha Imran Hamavda, like it says that God separates. Nevertheless, seemingly, when there's a tzimtzum, you should realize that it has a certain direct connection with God. Mikal Makam Nemar, it says, nevertheless, it says, Nemar, it says, Melech Elokim Alagoyim, God is the power, the Almighty over the nations. So don't worry, even if things seem bad, because God is the king over the nations. And it's very appropriate that we're reading this before Rosh Hashanah, because this is the time where we commit ourselves that He will be our leader, and we will be like little kings. Everybody will be like a little king, behaving in line with the dignity of a king, in line with God's rules. So God is the Almighty over the nations. Mi lo yeraucha melech hagayim. Who will not fear you, the king of the nations, etc. Shemalchuse, because his expression, his leadership, b'chol meshala, governs everything. And he's giving you an example. It was Vrayim Bilam, and a proof. I'll give you a proof from Bilam. Bilam was a prophet of the nations, and his soul, his energy, Shaya b'chinas Ra Dunaya. He came from the bad of the intermediate energy. In other words, he was like self-centered. B'chinas das the klippa. In other words, his mental focus was he was covered up like a peel. His focus was on the wrong thing. His focus was on the peel. But Commissioner Kosovo, Yada Daselia, but he knew God's focus. Like he was focused on himself, but he knew the way God works. He knew the rules. Now, he was a Beinani. Beinani means somebody that doesn't transgress any of the commandments that were applicable to him. He knew that he has to walk on the tightrope, and basically his power of energy, his energy, which he was using for selfish intent, he can only get that energy from God and have the power of prophecy if he doesn't make any transgression. He's not allowed to even think things that he's not allowed to think, but he has like selfish intent. So but he knew that he loses his powers if he's going to do any transgression. Amra loy uchalaver es pi Hashem. I cannot transgress something that God has spoken to me. He can't. He's going to lose his powers. So he has to stay a Beinani. Las is katana. He cannot even do something small against God. So, but then he advised them to do a transgression that actually made him into a Rasha, and it didn't work out well for him at the end. And then he knew he can't have Nevuah anymore. He can't have prophecy anymore, because the only way to prophecy is you have to keep the rules. You just have to keep the rules. It's a shame that it wasn't with a good intent, though, because that really messed him up. So even he had a donkey. This donkey was also a character, like a larger than life character. His donkey, Nukva the Za the Klippa. Now, everything in spirituality has a mirror. Generally, besides the essence, it has a mirror in the world of the peel. So you have the holy side and the whatever's not on the holy side, which is totally nullified to God. If it's not totally nullified to God, if it has selfish intent, it's already the other side. It's part of the peel. So his donkey was from the feminine aspect, which was a vessel of Zah the Klippa, of Zah the Klippa. So basically, Zah would be the masculine mirror of holiness, but it's the other side. It's not holy. But his donkey was the feminine aspect. She Yesekasha. Now, the feminine mirror of even a male, selfish energy or bad energy, the feminine aspect is worse. The feminine aspect falls lower. Something that falls lower has a potential to be higher, but when they're still lower, they're lower. It's bad, it's kasha, it's hard. Kimosha Isbara, like I'm going to explain, Shibbaluma said that when this corresponds to this. In other words, whatever's on the holy side, there's a mirror on the unholy side besides the essence, right? Nukva, the feminine, which means whole, Yose Kasha Mikulam, it's worse than all of them. So feminine bad energy is really, really bad. Viksiv, and it says regarding, you might think that like things are really bad, right? When the donkey's in control. No, but it's written, the donkey moved when it saw an angel. So even the most negative, like the most negative energies have a certain derech eretz to the Eibishter when they see divinity. So if you have certain, like, let's say, angels or politicians that are vessels for divine angels, and it could be that a certain politician is a vessel for a negative Klippa angel. So, but it's still going to move in front of divinity. So your job is to bring holiness into yourself, not for a selfish intent, but for the right reasons, and say Tehillim and bring Kedusha into yourself, so even the donkey will move. V'gam Bilam Amar Imra Beinecha Ashuv Ali. Now Bilam also said he knew the rules, and he didn't want to break the rules, even with his selfish intent, because the bottom line is, if he's doing the right thing, he's doing the right thing. So he said to God, if it's bad in your eyes, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to do a transgression. So this is Bilam. In the end, he was he drove the nations in a bad direction, but he really didn't want to do anything bad. He knew that he will lose. It won't be good for him. V'gam sheyesh mehem shehem b'v'chinas yesh nifrad gomer. Now, from these type of angels, of these types of sarim, like that are from the side which is opposite holiness, there are those that are like have an identity which is totally separate, completely separate from God. For example, I, with my own strength, made myself and made all of this success. So they're basically, their whole identity is singing, being separate from God, devoid of godliness. Like the angel of Mitzrayim, he said, to me is the river Nile, and I made myself. And he's like this big, it says like he's this reptile. So what's this Sar Shel Mitzrayim? The Sar of Egypt, the angel of Egypt, that is dressed inside the Pharaoh of Egypt. The king of Egypt is a vessel for the angel of Egypt. And he is creating an identity which is separate from God, because they didn't need to pray for rain in Egypt. And that leads to a total selfishness. Like they are their own success. I mean, this is like this is the snake people. Kamaimar Azal, like the rabbi said, Yedim es Rebbeinam, they know God. This is Amalek. Yedim es Rebbeinam, they know about God, they know about spirituality, they know the rules, and they don't, like Bilam didn't want to break the rules. No, miskavlim limre, they intend to rebel against him. Meaning to say that they know the laws of halacha and they do everything the opposite. When it says don't steal, they specifically steal. When it says don't murder, we're gonna, right? Just don't get caught, right? They don't want to be. So this is the ideology of everything upside down, everything upside down. Boys, girls, girls, boys, right? Confusion. They know their master and they specifically rebel against him. This behavior is the three impure clippers. In other words, there's this middle peel which covers of divinity, but it could go to holiness and could go but these three are totally impure, and the only way you can elevate them is by pushing them away. The gamri, they're totally impure. Gam heim nichnaim lefrakim. Even them, even Amalek, right? It doesn't say Amalek over here, but that's Yodim Es Rebbeinu Meschad and Limre. If you do a search, No, they know their masa, they know spirituality, and they specifically try to do the opposite. Even they are sometimes nichnaim. Nichnaim means subdued. Kasher yifkad Hashem aleichem, and God remembers them. So people, can have a fallen spirit and seemingly think, being controlled by this gimel kupas at the mass. Well, guess what? Kasher yifkad Hashem aleichem, and God remembers them. Like it's explained in the prophecies, the prophecies of the prophets. Al kama sare umasalim, how there were many sars, angels, sirs of the nations, which are basically is the kings and the presidents. How they would, they would move and they would not go against God. Aval b'chinas nega, gam b'chinas nega the asiya. You should realize that even the angels, even like Amalek, has a human aspect to them, that if you meet them in private and remind them of their humanity, they could wake up and do the right thing. Aval b'chinas nega, gam b'chinas nega the asiya shiru b'ira. But if we go to the higher level, which is the intermediate energy, which is Naga, wasn't that one of the stars? Second. Oh, sorry. Go back. No, that was chapter 3. Madim Noga, planet Noga is Venus. Noga, the luminescence, like shining. Venus is the one that shines in the sky. So that's like a middle type of energy. Even Noga of Asiya, which is mostly self-centered, only a little bit of is good. Good means not self-centered, totally nullified to the divinity. Noga is totally nullified. For example, like the Galgalim, which is the spheres, which is the seas of electromagnetic seas, where the stars move in when they move. Vamazalis and the stars with constellations inside them. Shein Ayim Sirim, and those constellations represent the 70, the special 7, the Sarim, the presidents, kings, the angels in charge of every nation, of the 70 nations. Eksiv Bahem Gamkein, and it says regarding the 70 nations, V'tzva Hashemayim L'cha Mishtachavim, the hosts of the heaven bow down to you. In other words, they're saying praise to God the whole day. In other words, we need to remind the leaders of the Sarim, leaders of the nations, that the angel behind you is actually praising God the whole day. How about you join? Etc. Like it's known. The reason why there's a constant moving, the chemra gagalim, of the physical aspects of the physical aspects of the of these electromagnetic space seas, and they have a matter to them as well. Shurak mitzad shira she'emnu. That is only because of the praise, the song that they sing, and they have fun singing the song. That's what they do all day. B'chinas atzura v'nefesh. Oh, atzura v'nefesh. Tzura means the shape, which shapes they have a soul, which tzura, which shapes their matter. V'nefesh, and a nefesh means soul hagalgal of this spheric sea. B'hishtachava ruchnis, they do a spiritual bowing, which then expresses itself as a song, which then causes the physical to move as well. And that's what we see in the sky. Like it's written in another place, Vidal, and what we've said till now is enough for the understanding. So this is really remarkable what we've been learning now, and it's really worth learning it in one shot. It's really worth going over this, listening to it again in high speed, and it's really going to lift up your spirits to know that God is really, I'm going to stop the share, right? God is really running the show, and you can ask for divine compassion. And when you bring down a revelation of divinity, even the most difficult angels, the most difficult world leaders, which are basically a puppet to the angel which is inside them, even they are going to move and harmonize with the divinity. And it's all up to you to bring down the holiness into yourself. And surely you will, on Rosh Hashanah, listen to the shofar, commit to the kingship of heaven by doing behaviors throughout the year which are appropriate to the laws that we heard from God. So have a good year. And part of that is being optimistic. Part of accepting God's kingship is that he wants to express kindness, and kindness in a way that's an appropriate, a good kindness. So be optimistic that you can do this, and he will give you the resources throughout the year with health to you and your family, and wealth, so you have the physical resources to do what he wants to you and your family and the people in your community and people around you. That we be proper vessels, and for sure the Galgalim and the stars and the constellations and the leaders, world leaders, and the local leaders, which are like the vessels for the small angels, they're all going to be in harmony as you bring the divinity and reveal the divinity in yourself through the studying, doing proper studying, prayer, and kindness to other people, being a vehicle of God, that God will express his kindness to other people, and through you, you're going to be a tool, an instrument of God, and we will have a really good year, and it should be a year where we see divinity, where our eyes open, and he's a tool how to see divinity, but it should be a way that the entire world sees the divinity, and that will be with the coming of Mashiach and the building of the third Beis Hamikdash with the complete and ultimate redemption. A good year.